everybody calls Han Solo a bitch.
Bring him on. I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
Oh, come on, bro. It's the wars.
Just when we think that this arc of the Clone Wars is hitting its peak, they go and outdo themselves again. This is The Wars and More. I'm Joe. Of course, with me is my good buddy Doug. Hey, Doug, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I just got done watching the Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And I can't wait till we get to the back half of the show and talk about that.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yeah, this thing does keep ramping up, doesn't it? I mean,
it's unbelievable. You think that they've hit their stride. This is the fastest this is going to move. This is the most they're going to throw at you at once. And wrong.
Right.
They've got more stuff up their sleeve, and now I'm even more excited because, like, if this and this were the middle parts of this arc,
oh yeah,
what is the finale going to be like?
Oh, I don't know. I think I can only imagine that we've kind of like touched on where they might be heading, you know, our predictions, you know, via the Ahsoka book and all that. But I don't know. For everything that we've seen so far, yeah, you say there's stuff up their sleeves. They got stuff falling out of their sleeves and just landing on the floor right now. It's.
I mean. Yeah, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it. I
was about to start.
Yeah. We got other stuff to do first.
yeah. Because when this gets going, there's no stopping that train.
Right.
So it's just not to put the stuff at the back half. It's just because when we start, it's all we're going to talk about. And there's some other stuff we want to talk about. So one of those things is, man, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is him channeling his Han Solo.
It might be.
But yeah, he's had another incident in his aircraft. So apparently he crossed the runway where another craft was landing after being instructed not to. Apparently he misheard the instruction from the flight, the tower.
Yeah.
And went ahead and crossed, and he shouldn't have crossed.
You think he's sitting there in his cockpit going, I'm tired of this conversation anyway, and just flips it off, turns it off and goes?
Maybe. I don't know. Like this one, okay, the thing people have to understand is that this kind of thing happens all the time.
Oh, sure.
These kind of little mishaps.
They don't happen to people with as big a name as Harrison Ford all the time, though. That's the thing. Right?
Right.
Since you're Harrison Ford, everyone's going to find out.
Yeah, it's so when you're at a bigger airport, it's very hectic.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens, especially with the small aviation stuff at big airports. And it's all like this, harmless, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, he was at least paying attention to his immediate surroundings because, I mean, the closest they came, the two planes came to each other were 3,600 feet.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, this was a incident to be sure because he did not follow direction.
Right.
When you get directed something by the tower, you do it.
And that's basically the gist of it, right? I mean, it's not that, you know, oh my God, it was a close call necessarily. It's just that when you have, you know, somebody working for a regulatory body like the FAA, you know, says do this and you don't do that, then it becomes a problem. So
right. So there was no danger of a crash here,
right?
In this particular situation, but the reason why that rule is there, the reason why they hold you, is because when a plane is landing, that plane is moving.
Yeah. And that takes precedent, right? I mean,
Yes, and they don't have time to get out of the way.
yeah.
So a slow-moving taxiing aircraft is not what you want to see come in front of you when you're landing.
Exactly.
So
there's Harry again. Yes.
Yep. So yeah, it's a big deal, but it was not a big deal at the same time. Like this is a small one. This is one of those things that happen a lot.
So you don't think he needs to hand the keys to the Millennium Falcon over to Ray just yet? You can.
I mean, I don't think he should get his renewal that he was trying to get right there.
Right.
Yeah, he was doing that to maintain currency and proficiency in the aircraft, which is like you have to fly every so often in order to maintain the ability to fly that aircraft on your own.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure they probably say, yeah, that one don't count.
Yeah, exactly. You know, maybe he just needs his own private airfield at home. How's that?
Still rules.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I mean, you won't taxi in front of another aircraft in your own private airfield.
The point right there. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's got a knack for finding this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's got what, half a dozen incidents on his record,
something like that,
in 20-something years of flying.
Right.
So, and most of them are failures and out of his control. So
yeah,
he does have a couple. Went the wrong way, landed on the wrong thing. Flew over something he shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think those. Yeah, I don't think those are enough for him to hand over the keys just yet.
Okay. Well, wish him luck in all of his aviation exploits moving forward. How's that?
Yeah. But I can tell you this, Harrison. Taxiing in a big airport ain't like dusting crops.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
So,
yeah, if that plane would have landed on him, he'd have, flown right through a supernova.
All right. So, Battlefront 2. Been a minute since we've talked about Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
But with Wednesday's update, their vision for Battlefront 2 is complete. So this will be the final major update for Battlefront. Obviously, there will be, still bug fixes, patches, things like that. But as far as content updates, they're done.
Okay.
This is the point at which Battlefront will get no more new content. This is its forever mode for now.
Okay.
My guess is, since they're reaching that point, is there's probably another one in the works.
You would think, right? I mean,
if I had to take a stab at it, and I think they had to run this course before they could even think about doing another one.
Yeah.
Because with the way this one started.
Yeah. The rocky start, shall we say?
Yes. The very rocky start this one had. They had to run this course, and they had to see it through.
Yeah.
People are very pleased with this game at this point. Those who stayed the course or came back, or those who joined late are happy with this game.
Yes.
You got tons of content for your dollar.
Yes.
Didn't start out that way. Started out as like, if you want this, you got to pay for it.
Right.
It's like, well, I paid $60. What do I get for that?
Yeah.
So, but no, I mean, they've run their course. They've made a fantastic game, in my opinion.
Cool.
I thought the game was awesome when it came out. I was very upset about the pay to win kind of atmosphere. If I wanted to get anything that looked cool, I had to pay for it. Like there was just too much like, hey, spend your extra money here.
Right.
It's like, look, if you wanted me to pay for all this other stuff, you should have gave me the base game for free.
Yeah.
You know, because I play free games that I pay for stuff because I want it.
Yep.
I didn't pay for the initial game.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
And that's my way of showing support for a game I like.
Yeah, right. There's different business models in gaming, and you just explained two different versions there, and I think they were trying to kind of combine the two to a double dip, and I think the fan base just kind of revolted against that and said, "Nah, it ain't gonna happen that way."
Like I don't like the use of the pay to win moniker, right? Like I think that is an unfair slight.
Sure.
At a company when you they call them freemium games and other.
Yes.
Okay. Like, look, they gave you the game for free.
Yep.
If you're getting a game for free and they release stuff that you pay for, to better enhance your characters or do something like that, and you don't do it, that's your choice.
Exactly.
If you do, that's your choice as well. I see it as me supporting a game that I enjoy.
Yes.
I think the mindset in gaming is where the problem lies there. But I think Battlefront at its inception was a pay-to-win game. And I hate that moniker, but I'm going to use it there.
Right.
Because you paid $60 for this game.
Yep.
And then in order to be better than other people, you had to pay money.
Right.
That's a problem.
That is a problem. Yeah.
That's not paying to support a game you love. That's paying to get better.
Yes.
And of course, if you're paying to support a game, you should get something out of it.
That also goes to the nature of the type of game it is too, though, isn't it? I mean,
right.
In my opinion, I mean, that type of game is very competitive online, right?
Yes.
Okay. So
the game I talk about, that I play the most and I pay to play it, is World of Warships.
Right.
And all the time in the chat in this game, I've been playing my premium ships and I get referred to as a wallet warrior.
Nice.
And then I tell them, I was like, well, let's go 1-on-1 and I'll get my tech tree ship and I'll kick your ass in that.
Yeah. I like that.
Like I have all the tech trees. Like I think my lowest ship in each tech tree is tier 7. A lot of them I have tier 10s in. I've played this game all the way through. Like,
right.
I wanted some ships that I just like.
Yeah.
So,
and that's different. You're buying something because you want it.
Yep. Not
because you can't be competitive if you don't have it. That's a big difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you can be competitive in this game with the tech tree ships. It's not like you can't.
Right.
I play them all the time.
Right.
You can play just fine. This is just the rage of the gaming community. That like whenever someone beats you, you got to find out why they beat you, and it's obvious that they're cheating.
Yes.
That's it. They're cheating. Got to be. So, but yeah, back on topic. Battlefront did good. Corrected the rocky course they were on.
Yep.
And that's come to fruition. It's done. So, so if you've been waiting for everything to be there before you buy the game, now's a good time.
Yeah,
because everything's there.
Exactly.
But yeah, I enjoy the game. I love the way they went with it, and I'm excited for another Battlefront installment. I really hope they do it now that the attitude towards the Battlefront series has changed, has turned around.
Cool.
And I hope they do it just like they did this one at the end, not the beginning.
Right. Yes.
Take that beginning, but like the way they finished this one out, I hope they do another game like that.
Hit the ground running that way.
Yeah. And in all honesty, they could make the game a little more expensive at the start and just tell them that we're going to do what we did with this last one.
Right.
So it's a little more expensive because we're going to give you a ton of content. We're not going to hide it and say, okay, well, you can buy this and you'll get whatever packages we come out with. And you don't know if you're going to get your money's worth out of that. Or you can just wait and buy the individual updates. That's bad. That's a Call of Duty way of doing things. I don't like that.
Right.
Just if you need to make it a little more expensive to say we're going to update this game continuously for 2 years, this is why it's this price. Pretty sure people will bite.
Yeah, I like it.
And you know what you're getting up front.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that people would pay $80 for a game that they know they're going to get continuous updates for 2 years.
Right.
Because, I mean, hell, we pay $60 all the time for games that we finish in a week.
Yeah, it's true.
So, all right. So, one thing of note I wanted to point out, we've been talking about all the May the 4th stuff going on and things like that. And there's a lot of stuff out there. Too much to list because it's all coming from different sources. And it's not as centralized as it usually is.
Right.
It's not like you can go to Target and get this deal, and you can go to Walmart and get this, and this. It's not like that this year. So it's scattered amongst a ton of websites and stuff. Someone should really aggregate all that information.
Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't you do that, Joe?
Be here a week.
Right.
No, it would be good for like I'm sure it's done somewhere. I'm sure there's some website that has a list of everything.
Yeah.
I'm not a writer, so I didn't write up a list. But one thing I wanted to point out is the book Queen Shadow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Will be available as a free download from May 1st through the 8th.
Ooh. Nice.
So if you go over to disneybooks.com, you can select which format you want it on. I just tested it and did the Kindle version, and it's free. So
Sweet.
From the 1st to the 8th, you can get a Kindle version for free.
Awesome.
It's the subject of an upcoming installment of the Star Wars Show Book Club. Probably the reason why they're doing this.
Ah.
So everybody can watch and be on board. And
so that'll be kind of nice because that's going to help kick that off as well. And
Yep.
Everyone gets a nice little gift on the 4th. Sweet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a good idea, especially to start off a new show for them. Because you don't really want to limit your audience, and
Right.
you need a way to get new audience, right?
Absolutely.
So if everybody reads this, watches that show, and goes, "Wow, that was a lot of fun," they'll probably buy the next book to watch along.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
So, yep. Go ahead and go pick up your free copy of Queen Shadow. Free is always good.
Free is good.
All right. Well, let's get into the Star Wars show then. They had an interview this week. It was from a couple months ago, right?
Well, I took note of how they put that because I thought it was kind of interesting, right? I actually wrote down what they said. So David Collins conducted the interview. Well, we all love David Collins.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I did an interview up at Big Rock Ranch a little while ago. So, little vague on the details, but we're assuming it's pre, quarantine time or whatever you want to call it. And, cause you could tell there were some folks there and, we're basically, I think it was all in promotion for the end of the Clone Wars, to be honest about it. So
yes, that's what I got. That's the gist I got out of it. It was for the final season of the Clone Wars.
yeah,
So I assumed it was, within the last couple months.
right.
Obviously before all the social distancing measures, because there's a crowd of people there.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I can promise you this, that company was not going to do that and violate any orders.
Right. Exactly.
They've been pretty quick on adhering to all these measures. So
yeah,
this was definitely before that. So that's why I assume a couple months.
And
just trying to piece the pieces of the puzzle together.
Exactly. I think though, even if you'd have said you were going to have an interview with these two guys, Dave Filoni and George Lucas, everyone would come out of hiding for this, even, things the way they are or not.
Yep.
So, but, yeah, it was very interesting. I'm going to say right now, go check out the Star Wars show, check out the whole interview if you haven't, but there's a few highlights here that I thought were pretty interesting.
I'd like to interject real quick, just with checking out that episode of the Star Wars show.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tend to skip through it and get to what I wanted to see.
Yep.
This one was worth a watch of the full episode.
It was.
Just saying, there was a lot of good little interruptions and things like that were just fun.
Yes.
I tell you what, I like this format. I think this quarantine kind of put them in a better spot for the show.
I kind of feel the same way. I think for this type of show, it's better suited this way. Because
I might be a little more biased because this actually seemed more like a podcast, like a video podcast.
Yes, to a degree,
with a big news element.
Yeah. But I don't know. For me, I agree. This episode it seemed like it was more in all of their wheelhouse, and it was entertaining to watch. So, for sure. So, basically, when it came to the interview between, I shouldn't say between, but of George Lucas and Dave Filoni by David Collins, they had a lot of stuff, and I couldn't clip it all. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
No, there's a show to go watch for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I just mentioned it. So, but I thought it was interesting. Here's Dave talking about some of the stuff that they did and how George had them doing things for the Clone Wars that, the same kind of stuff that he did for episode 4 way back in the day.
The second episode you saw tonight, Landing at Point Rain, was at first a total disaster. And George, Jason Tucker, and I sat in Avid for 2 days recutting that episode with live action footage. George had Battle of the Bulge, The Four Feathers, Battle over Britain, and we took a bunch of stock footage and footage from movies that he had and literally cut that episode together out of live action footage. And that's why the pace of it feels so fast. And up until that point, we hadn't really done anything like that in animation.
Pretty interesting. It's the same kind of techniques George was using for the space battles in A New Hope. Mm-hmm. He was cutting in all that World War II aircraft footage and stuff. Kind of interesting. I thought interesting they would do the same thing for the Clone Wars so many years later.
Yeah. George says as much in this interview, and I don't know if I'm going to step on one of your clips here or not, was saying that, don't do it like animation.
Oh, yeah. We're going to cover that.
Okay. I don't want to step on the clip too much, but that was amazing to hear, and to hear that they used live action to, create these animated scenes made sense, because there's so many times in the Clone Wars where you forget you're looking at animation.
Yes.
It does a real good job of that, and this last arc is unbelievably good for that.
Absolutely. So I guess since you took us down that road,
Yep.
I'm gonna
Steer the
play.
ship, right?
I'm gonna play. This isn't George talking, but it's Dave talking about how George approaches animation. So
I think from animation, one of the great things is you never treated the animation as something separate or different. It was just all part of the story. And that meant a lot because a lot of times in animation, you delegated something else. Oh, it doesn't need to be as good. Or it's just that animation thing. And we kept pushing to say, but we want the visuals and the story to just be an extension of the films. That's art. That's evolving. You never want to sit still. I mean, that's why the last season of the show looks better than the first. We kept pushing it and pushing it, pushing it. We actually found ways, Athena found ways to make the show less expensive while making it better looking, which is the win all around because that wasn't the most important thing, how much money we were spending on it. We wanted to be tight and lean and effective and tell good stories efficiently because then we could put that more into development and develop technology to tell the stories even better. So then you're putting your resources where they really need to be instead of always making up for mistakes or errors or reshoots. You know, you put where the value is.
So on that clip, there's a couple things that I wanted to point out. One is a couple things that I say a lot. One is it's always all about story in Star Wars, right? And I don't care what the medium is, if it's a book, if it's a comic, if it's an animation, if it's a movie, if it's live action television, it's all about story. And that's what it's always been for me when it comes to Star Wars. You know, it's great when you get all these advancements in technology and stuff, but the story is the key. And
you know,
go ahead.
It's not like we watch Star Wars and every time we're in like awe of the advancement in technology. I don't feel like that's our go-to.
It's not.
I think we don't even really get into that conversation until later when they release behind the scenes footage, things like that. They show the techniques used and really highlight that stuff that we're like, whoa.
I agree with that, okay, because it just hits right on the point of it's all about story. But when I think Star Wars is hitting on all cylinders, they are also innovating behind the scenes.
Right.
We don't know what's going on, but that is something that George has always been about. And I don't want to drag this down, okay? But as far as technology goes, you know, that's one place where from this clip, story and technology, right? I'll just throw one word out there. Sequels? But that is when Star Wars is hitting on all cylinders, when it's an awesome story and they are innovating. So, well, go ahead.
Just to beat on that drum a little bit. I think we've said too, like the idea of going backwards for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Was a new concept.
For sure.
It worked in particular moments. Like they tried to use that advancement with Yoda or my bad, reversal. They tried to use that idea of, you know, using the old.
Right.
With Yoda. They didn't want to change Yoda. They wanted to use the puppet. They used the puppet in episode 1 and it looked awful.
Yeah.
That puppet was very well suited for the dark, dingy Dagobah.
Yes. Yeah, there was between the lighting, the practical effects, and you know, whatever kind of magic dust they sprinkled over that film of episode 5 and 6, there was something magic there. You know what I mean? So
yes,
and trying to capture that in a setting like you had in episode 1, all the bright lights, all the, you know, all of the screen time Yoda had, it just didn't work out the same.
No.
So
yeah, and if you go back and watch, you know, the scene with the puppet Yoda, in episode 1. It is just, it doesn't even look like the same puppet.
Right.
It looks terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And
they're like, no, it's like literally it's the same one.
Yeah.
it's just the environment.
And to their credit, they had in episode 8 a similar type of environment as they had in episode 5. You know, a lot of darkness, some campfire light, things like that. And it came off better in episode 8 than it did in episode 1 for sure.
Yes. And like you said, that's an environment thing.
Yes.
And you can hide a lot of stuff with the little blue hue around them.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, continue. Don't want to beat on that forever.
Yeah. So, David Collins asked George if, doing episodic TV is, I don't want to say easier to do, maybe more forgiving, and here's George's reply.
There's nothing forgiving. We weren't making this for television. We were making it for the big screen. I said, think of this as a feature. Everything about it, the style, attention to detail, the lighting, everything is done at a feature level, even though it's going on television. Being young and impressionable, he said, well, you can't do that.
Did I say that? Would I say that?
I would just do that. How are we going to do that? It's impossible. Especially like after we cut that sequence.
Yeah.
It was like about 600 shots more than what they had in the first place.
And you were right.
And you did it, you go through and do that. Eventually you get the hang of it, and then you don't say that. But I always keep them on their toes. I always say, here, that was hard. Here's something that's even worse.
That's George. So I love the fact that, the people's impressions can be that, well, it's just TV, right? Or it's how do you make it something that's going to be movie quality week to week? Well, that's what George is going to strive to. He's going to strive to do the very best product he can, even if it is on a weekly basis. And that's, what we've all come to love about the man,
Yeah, and that is a sentiment that they carried over into The Mandalorian.
Yes, for sure.
That is, I think, what makes The Mandalorian so successful is they've carried that idea in. It seems like they're not writing it for television. Seems like they're writing it to be a feature.
Absolutely.
And you look at the way the story is so linear and so connected. It's like they're making one big movie.
Yeah.
And then breaking it into episodes.
And it's funny you mentioned The Mandalorian and how it's, exclusively on Disney Plus, because George has had this idea, rolling around in his head for a long time about streaming services. And then, they go on to talk about how, that, and in this clip, you'll hear Dave talking about how, he's trying to pass on what he has learned a little bit. So,
yeah.
As we move into the future, television was taking off. And we started to have Netflix, and we started to have things like that. There was a definite movement toward more sophisticated animation and more sophisticated stories.
The biggest thing you said way back when was that Clone Wars would be immensely more successful on a streaming platform. You were adamant about that. And when Clone Wars got put on Netflix, it exploded. And the amazing thing to me is all the things that you told me in the beginning in 2005 about virtual shooting, trying to do motion capture, a lot of things that we were trying to implement, which I didn't quite understand, but I was like, there's got to be something. I got to go with this Z-Viz, getting rid of hand drawing, not because we don't like it, but because it's just a different medium. And now we do all that stuff. And now everybody's trying to do all that stuff. Now I feel your frustration. What me must have been like, because they do the same mistakes that I remember making. And so that's what I do now. I try to teach people what I was taught.
So that goes right along with, obviously George has been on top of this a lot longer than we have, but we've talked about it here on the show, how we think many things, and in our current situation has kind of shown us that, new releases and feature films can go straight to a streaming service and they might not have the same kind of success that they're going to have in a theater, but they are having success, and they,
I would say the problem that I would say big Hollywood has with that is the dollar amount's not the same.
Correct.
The exposure is probably more.
Yes, that's absolutely
It's reaching
true.
so many more viewers on a streaming service, but
Yes.
you can't. You're not making the same amount of money per viewer as you do with the theatrical release.
Absolutely. This is something that we've been touching on from time to time, and that is the fact that the industry as a whole is changing. We are in the middle of a shift right now. So, the industry might make this, transition from one way of doing things to another, kicking and screaming, but it's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, so like, let me put it in this perspective. Like, I think about when I go to the theater and I see like a Broadway show,
Yep.
something I love to do,
Yes.
and the amount of money I spend for that is
Right.
a lot, right? It's very expensive. But a night out at the movie theater is not much different. Okay, like, okay, yes, I spend this in ticket prices to go see this show. Say I spend $100 a ticket to go see this musical in my town.
Sure.
Okay. I approach $100 every time I go to the theater with just me and Kat.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So yes, okay, it's not quite in the same range as going to see a Broadway show because you're talking $200 versus $100. But when I pay $200 to go see this one, I'm paying for ticket prices that are being divvied up amongst a cast of
Yeah. Yes.
100 people in that place.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Whereas, like, I understand that this is the same thing, and you got money that's being divvied up amongst the cast, but they worked one time.
Yes.
These people are doing this night after night,
Yes.
town after town.
And yeah, you kind of went down a different path than I thought you were going to go.
Yeah,
but because what I was starting to think as you were talking is going to see a movie might become more like going to see a live performance in the fact that it might become more of an event. Right?
I was gonna go down that road, but I was kind of deviant on like.
Well, yeah, but I could see people spending the money to go see a film, let's say IMAX, right? And making sure that it's going to be a film like these event films, like Star Wars, right? Something like that. And maybe not so much the smaller, we'll call them quote unquote run of the mill movies, but just to make it, because like you said, the in some cases you do have the cost of an evening out like that. It's starting to rival one another.
Yeah.
And, you can only do that so much. So, I could see, well,
if theater going becomes more of a niche environment, because let's think about it. Like, does the latest Shrek movie need to be on the big screen?
I don't think so.
And I think people are going to start to feel more and more like that. And it's already showing. And I think our current situation is going to force that hand a little bit.
I totally agree with that.
So yeah, I don't want to get, it's not a business podcast. So I mean, I do think movie theaters are in trouble after this.
Yeah.
And I don't wish that so, because I love going to the movie theater.
I agree, but it also could make going out to the theater, like I said, more of an event, and make those what did I call them? The big event type movies. I don't know, more of a special occasion again, you know?
Right. I mean, the problem with that would be is you're going to see, less theaters, bigger theaters.
Yes.
So there'll be less of them, but bigger. So more audience on one screen, which is kind of a step back from the way we've been headed, which is smaller theaters, recliners, things like that.
Oh, I could see if that happened, right? I could see one, theater ticket prices going up, and it would be less of a thing for my teenage kids to do on any given Tuesday night, and it becoming a big deal. It's more of like the anniversary date thing than, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I guess it's kind of the course, because I was comparing it to the musicals and things like that, which used to be your night out, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like the movie theater is now.
Yep.
I mean, granted, the big shows and things like that were the advantage of the cinema versus the Broadway show is the Broadway show was only available to like the upper echelon of people,
Yeah.
until that some version of that show made it down to the little theaters, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that happening with cinema, but I think that's still a long way out, in all honesty. I think initially after this, you're going to see movies become much more affordable to go see.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I think that'll be the first step in this. I think that's going to be because people are not going to want to go back to the movie theaters.
Right.
They're going to want to just watch it on their home, streaming service. And these companies are going to have their hand forced into just going direct to those platforms.
Yep.
But yeah, I think in that initial run, movie theaters will get much more affordable. I'll probably go a lot more.
Right.
Because if it gets more affordable, I would go more.
Yeah. I was going to say, savor it at least while you can, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I think the long term on that is, yes, it's going to get more expensive. It's going to become more of a niche thing. And it's going to be like going to the theater to see a musical. It's going to be an event.
Right. So the other
they're going to need longer than an hour and a half movies, though, in order to make people fall for that.
Yeah. Could happen. You never know.
I mean, I go see Phantom of the Opera. It's 3 hours and some change.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
and with an intermission. It's
yeah. And crazy enough, like I can get an adult beverage at that for less money than a large pop at a movie theater. So
right. This is true.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. It may be something else to reconsider, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think they have little snacks there too. Like they have like gummy bears and like trail mix type stuff and things like that. Also affordable.
Yes.
I mean, but they might take into consideration that, like, okay, like I'm sitting in the fourth row right now. I paid $150, $160 for my ticket.
Yep.
So maybe not charging me, $15 for an 8-ounce beer.
Yeah. Oh, too funny.
I think I still think it's expensive. It's like $5 or $6, but I mean, it's not movie theater pricing.
Right. So the other part of that clip was Dave talking about, the things he learned from George and what he's trying to do now and pass that knowledge on, which I thought was really cool, which ends up getting summed up in this clip, which I just thought was hilarious.
I say do or do not.
But I would try real hard.
That's funny. You can tell those guys just love working with each other.
Yeah.
George and Dave. I mean, this interview, if you've never, I will say this, I have never seen the interactions between the two of them like I have in this interview. And testament to David Collins and the the way he was conducting it and everything. I think he brought a lighter mood to it as well. But they seem to just have a lot of fun with each other, and I didn't get all of that here, so definitely check this out because it's worth watching.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that has always been there though with George and Dave.
Yeah.
Did you notice how George has always kind of picked on Dave the same way Dave kind of picks on his cast members?
Yeah, a little bit. And it's all in a way that's like all in good fun, and
yes,
everyone knows it, and they love each other, and it's all good, So, I personally, I think that's one of the best work environments you could be in.
I mean, that dynamic right there, just like talk about how George picks on Dave picks on his cast. It's like the same exact thing, right?
Yeah.
So George has literally created another version of himself.
Yes.
Which Dave Filoni, and
awesome.
It's a different version of George. Yeah. Dave Filoni has his own unique style and things, and so George has managed to create an improvement on what he's done.
Yes.
Like he's always been about improving.
Yep.
Like with Dave, he's like improving himself.
Yeah, exactly. No, I like that.
I mean,
I like that a lot.
I have no doubt that is George's intent.
And what's funny is here you've segued us right into the last clip that I have of this. And it's how do I put this? It speaks to everything that you just mentioned and where it may lack. So here.
I think one of the most important lessons, which I gave you in the beginning, which was, and Francis Coppola taught me, he says, look, if you can't write, you can't direct, because all you're doing is telling a story on film, but the story is still the same. And if you don't know what the story is, and you don't know how to write the story, you're not going to know how to direct it.
Yeah, there were two things I can remember very plainly. One was that you would watch stuff we did all the time and go, what are you trying to say? What does that mean? And I would explain it to you, and you'd say, that's great. Everything you said, do it there, because you're not going to be at people's home to explain it to them. And I remember they seem very like simple, basic things, but you get so lost in the process of making these stories, and you get it in your head that everybody knows what everything is, and you just kind of lose your way.
Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I think you know where I'm going, and I'm thinking here, don't you?
What's that?
Well, okay. The thought of you're not going to be in everybody's living room to explain to them what's going on.
Right.
Well, in some ways, I think the sequels suffered from that a little bit, because there's a lot of comics and books and things, right? Not books necessarily, but a lot of side ancillary material to go along with the sequels that it's almost necessary to some degree to understand everything that's happening.
No, it's not almost necessary. It's necessary.
So, yeah.
There's no almost about it.
Okay.
Like, even being, the fan that I am, and as invested as I am in everything that's come before, watching the sequels, I had more questions than I got answers.
Sure.
And
that's okay.
And everybody, it's okay. It's okay. And everybody's response to me is always, well, it's in this book or it's in this comic book.
That's the problem.
Just read it, stupid. It's like,
right.
Whoa.
Yes.
Can you tell me when I've had to do that before?
Exactly. Never.
The comics and the books and things like that for the prequels and the original trilogy were there to enhance the story.
Yes.
Not fill in the gaps.
No, enhance, maybe not even enhance. It's just telling another story that happened off camera.
Yeah.
The books and the comics and things like that. The story, the original story, the movie that you went to go see stood on its own.
Yeah, and I've had people tell me like, oh, well, they mentioned the Clone Wars and never told that. I was like, but the Clone Wars is never part of that story. The story was, the Skywalkers, Anakin,
Yes,
Luke.
exactly.
That was the story. Okay, they mentioned the Clone Wars and they never filled in the gap. Sure, fine, whatever.
You got the point, though. It was a war that happened in the past, and it was called the Clone Wars. I mean, you got what you needed out of that for the story that they were telling at the time.
And they did fill in the gap with this amazing thing at the beginning of the film called The Crawl.
Yes.
I mean, read it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
you had a jumping off point at the end of The Crawl for all of the films that came before it.
Yes.
And I watched The Crawl for The Force Awakens and I kind of was like, okay, yes. Filled in the gap.
Right.
And then we got like just a story about the gap.
Right.
I'm like, well, that didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And then we got the second one, and it was like this story about how I didn't like the first one.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't help nothing.
Yes. Well,
so like, it's just, yeah.
I don't know. I liked everything these two guys had to say in that clip. George telling Dave, what are you trying to say here? Dave would explain it, and George would point at the screen and say, do that up there. That's the whole point of it. It's like, and the part that he said he learned from Francis Ford Coppola, you got to be a writer, right? Because if you write it, then you can direct it, kind of thing. It's like, which we've seen that all the way through here with the sequel trilogy. There's writer directors, and that's great. But having one man do this prior was, and he didn't direct them all. I get it, but he was always there, right? The directors were kind of like just executing George's orders to some degree, I believe. So we talked about it, right? The singular vision. There's that part of it. And then Dave goes on to say, if you don't do these things, you don't put the point you're trying to get across up on the screen and have it all be right there. You're not going to be there in their living room to explain the story to people. Then you will end up losing your way, which to some degree, I think has happened a little bit with the films.
Yeah, maybe some people thought, hey, I'll just tell them on Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah, if they don't like it, tough. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting because that right there, we are seeing everything that they're talking about get executed right now in the Clone Wars, and it's got me pumped for season 2 of The Mandalorian because I know those two projects right there are being executed beautifully and in a way that George would have done. I'm not going to say the same, but in a very similar fashion, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you got Dave Filoni helming one of them, and then he's helping guide the other.
Yep.
With, Jon Favreau, who is obviously very open to new ideas.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean, he's as excited about doing something new with Star Wars as Dave.
Yeah, for sure.
As George. And he's as excited about going in and making something that would be good enough for the big screen.
Yep.
Have something to add to the conversation? Or you just want to let us know how we're doing? Email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. That's the best place to get in on the action. But if social media is a little more to your liking, at The Wars and More on Twitter is always a good place to interact with us. And we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/The Wars and More. And of course, your portal to this and everything else, The Wars and More, is thewarsandmore.com. All right, so we alluded to it at the beginning of this episode that, wow, the Clone Wars is just firing on all cylinders. It just, wow.
Yes,
and this week we're talking season 7, episode 11, Shattered.
This is the moment we've been waiting for.
Yeah, we were wondering if some of these points had happened yet.
Right.
Things like that. And we got our answer.
Yes, we did.
No, they haven't, and they happen now.
Yes, and it was awesome.
Oh man, the execution here, the job they are doing of letting you know where you are in the episode 3 storyline without telling the episode 3 story is fantastic.
Yes.
They are just giving you little tidbits pulled directly from the film.
Yep.
Happening at the exact same time with current events, but only giving you enough to say, okay, this is where we're at. This is how our characters are feeling it. Let's tell the rest of this story.
Yeah.
Just marvelous. And Dave had, we played some clips or at least read something from Dave last week, I believe, where he talked about he didn't have to tell the episode 3 story.
Yeah,
He didn't have to tell the story of Obi-Wan and Anakin, and that story's been told.
Yep.
This is about our characters here and now.
Yes. And it is brilliant the way we are getting just little little pieces that tell you exactly where you're at, like you're saying. For instance, when Ahsoka has this epiphany of what had just happened, you know that, when she hears the voice of Anakin and Mace Windu and things like that, we can only assume that she's having a vision of it, maybe, as well. But
I don't think so. I don't think she saw it.
Okay.
I don't think she knows exactly what happened.
She felt it, right?
She felt it, and she knew Anakin was in trouble, in pain.
But we know for a fact all that stuff just happened just prior, because as Rex had walked away, he had walked away to go get Order 66. So,
which this blew my mind. Okay, I was under the impression that what we got from Rebels, I almost felt like Rex had figured this out beforehand.
Yeah, me too.
And was immune to the Order when it happened. That's not the case.
That's not the case at all. The way it went down here was really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have to, the way I'm seeing this is Rex was fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he says, what did he say about fives?
Find fives.
Find fives.
Find them 5 fives.
So he's warning her in one sense, but can't fight the chip to stop himself from trying to execute Ahsoka.
You know what that looked like to me? Like the way he was fighting that is, wasn't there something with Vader in Rebels with Ezra? When Vader was controlling Ezra's hand.
Oh, right.
With his lightsaber in it and bringing it towards his neck.
Yep.
The way Rex looked there was like he was fighting his body from outside his control.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
Yes.
That his body's still trying to react while his mind's fighting it.
Yeah.
it was almost like he was being force controlled. You know, like
yeah, absolutely. Which
so now I'm like even more intrigued about this chip.
yeah, yeah. Well, what do we know? It's an organic chip, quote unquote chip. We know that from the episodes that. God, what season was that? 5, right?
Yeah.
So,
but to see that separation between like the mechanical body function and cognitive function,
yeah.
like it's like, whoa, this like his body is trying to do something his mind is fighting.
Yes.
So like that portion of his brain's doing this and he's using the other like critical thought process, like this is wrong.
Yeah. It's so in some ways in episode 3, you almost get the impression that once Order 66 has been given, the clones are some sort of like they're not autonomous, right? They are under Palpatine's control, almost like a zombie force, you know, answering only to him. But that's not really the case. They do still have like their, you know, they can operate, can't operate necessarily autonomously, but they have autonomous thoughts, obviously, from what we saw with Rex.
Yep.
So it's very interesting to see how that played out, how it worked.
Yeah,
cool.
and this gave us a different perspective for Order 66 as well, with Rex fighting it. With what we know about Rex, we've got a very intimate knowledge of Rex, right?
Yep.
We've watched this character grow.
Yeah, for sure.
Alongside Ahsoka. You know, and to see this action through him, someone as opposed to every other clone, you know, in the galaxy that when we watched Order 66 the first time, we didn't have any understanding of the individual clone.
Exactly.
And now in this one we do, and we see that interaction between, you know, with Rex trying to fight it with someone that he loves. I mean, he loves this character.
Right.
Of Ahsoka.
Well, they just got done talking about, you know, how good of a friend Rex is to Ahsoka.
Yeah. Like, as if Order 66 wasn't emotional enough.
Yeah. Exactly. Now
you're going to just really, really hit me in the feels here.
Yeah.
But, man, there was so much great stuff here, too. Like, with Maul, you know, Ahsoka lets Maul out.
Right. Which, I gotta say, that cage, that Mandalorian ray-shielded box, that seemed pretty hardcore. I mean, you know, is apparently the last one, according to Bo-Katan, because Satine had outlawed them, but, you know, wow.
Yeah, very, very Iron Maiden looking.
Yeah, for sure. And again, with Maul, you know, they cut basically from Maul to Ahsoka, I believe, it goes that direction, but he felt all of this going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
He even predicted it last episode that Skywalker is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's funny that Ahsoka actually spoke to the Jedi Council and I don't want to say she failed or neglected, but she did not tell them what Maul said about Anakin. So,
yeah, I mean, I will say this.
Yeah.
With the events that were already in motion, nothing would have stopped that.
Well, at the point, there's only one way it would have worked, is if she would have told Mace Windu
to put him in one of these boxes we have Maul in.
Yeah, basically. Yes, exactly. That's what you got to do, man. Put Anakin in this box. Yes. Because that's the only way it would have worked. But he was the only one in proximity enough to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, and the action would have been the same.
Yes.
He would have told him to stay there.
Yes.
He would have told him there's much conflict. There's much,
You are correct, because I mean the way the whole scene plays out is Ahsoka lingers on the line long enough to talk to Yoda, and there was nothing Yoda could have done. He even offers, "You want me to give Anakin a message for you?" And that would have done nothing, because he's on Kashyyyk. There's nothing that he could have done to stop Anakin from where he was. So
and now that we have this scene, right?
Yep.
And you put this in perspective, I think Anakin was too far gone at this point to think that even if Ahsoka said something, there's no way it would have stopped it, aside from putting him in one of these boxes.
Right.
And even then, who knows what his reaction would have been to the death of Palpatine. Now, he wouldn't have had Palpatine there to guide him in the dark side, but he may have still fallen.
It's possible. It's possible. I think at that point he might have tried to, he might have opened up to the Jedi to explain what was going on with him. Because who else would he have to go to?
I think the only thing that would have saved this, and maybe Ahsoka sees this. Any intervention from the Jedi would have pushed him further away.
That's possible. In the end, that's what
maybe
happens.
Only a conversation between her and him could he have been saved.
Right.
That's the way I'm going to look at it.
I see.
I don't think with Anakin's trust in the Council, and then you look at everything that happened with Ahsoka, put all that in perspective, I don't think if they come to him with this information, he's going to take it well.
Right.
I think that's just going to deepen his divide.
Yeah. Yeah, most certainly could go that way. I mean, cause you're right. It's almost like it's like a freight train, right? Anakin is like a freight train. All you can do is get out of its way. You can't stop it. His path down the dark side is the only one that could stop it would be him. Right.
And then you keeping that freight train analogy alive. Like, even if you pull the brakes right now, you still got about a mile before you're going to stop.
Exactly.
And I don't think you have enough time before that collision.
Yeah.
So I think this is the point where it doesn't matter what Ahsoka does at this point with that information.
Agreed.
I think it's too late.
I think the only thing that these scenes, like, we can infer from these scenes how much guilt she must feel later on down the road, if there is guilt to be felt. But she knows these things that have happened and where things could have been said and weren't and things like that, but not that it could have changed anything either. So,
well, I think she's going to feel this if she would have stayed at his side. Maybe she could have prevented this.
Right. Yes.
And honestly, perhaps.
Well, I mean, yeah, if Anakin and Obi-Wan would have stayed in Mandalore, but.
Well, I mean, even if she would have stayed with the Order.
Oh, I see.
I think, looking at it now, the whole setup of Ahsoka and everything was just to get her out of the picture. Palpatine knew she was a problem.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, it's the tangled webs that have been woven here are complex, for
Yes.
sure, and brilliantly executed. So I like it. Getting back to this episode though, I love how when Ahsoka releases Maul, she tells him, "We are not in this as a team. I am not following you. You are a distraction for me, so I can get done what I need to get done." And that is the uncompromising Ahsoka that takes charge right there. I love it.
Oh, and when he basically asked for a lightsaber.
Yeah.
You mind giving me a fighting chance?
Yeah.
And what she say? She's like, "I'm not rooting for you."
Yeah, I'm not rooting for you. Exactly.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah. That's kind of cold when you think about it.
Like, damn, son.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, but man, he didn't need it, did he?
No, he actually, he was actually working out just fine.
And honestly, some of the most brutal scenes we've seen in the Clone Wars.
I gotta say, yeah, the arm through the blast doors thing was ouch. That was
the heads rolling after the one.
Oh yeah.
Like, whew.
Yeah.
I mean, this is awesome.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you're really showing the dark side here. And you're showcasing Maul's growth.
Yes.
That is a powerful dude right there.
Yes. Yeah. We've said it before, but the Maul that we were promised prior to the release of episode 1, we get to see in fruition here in the Clone Wars. Because, yeah. I think a lot of people felt we were robbed of that a little bit back then. But here we got it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a bad dude. Yeah, that whole sequence is like mind blowing. I was like, I can't believe they're doing that.
Right.
But then again, like, I'm glad they're doing that because you need to show this dichotomy here. Because Ahsoka's doing some stuff that would be questionable for someone of a Jedi-like leaning.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So I guess you almost kind of need that to go, like, no. She's doing that to survive. This is what a bad guy would do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, the majority of what Ahsoka's doing, she's just disabling. She's not killing.
Right.
Whereas Maul's just killing everything.
Yes.
So I think that was a needed balance there, because otherwise Ahsoka's methods probably would have seemed a little dark-sidey.
Yeah.
But it was really just about survival. I mean, if she didn't do what she did, she's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So what'd you think about the droids? Like,
that was kind of interesting. I mean, it was almost like a little callback to episode 1 there, where they're, kind of all docked in their stations, and, she kind of, it's kind of odd to me. The droids, their logic centers, I guess you could call it, right, are basically saying this doesn't make any sense, and you kind of get that with what Ahsoka's going through. Everything's just been turned on its ear, and the droids can see it for what it is, because all they have is logic, right? They don't have any kind of emotional thing driving them. So it was interesting how Ahsoka used them to get to Rex and get him to the med bay where she can actually try and do something about his chip. So
right,
it was kind of cool.
I just thought it was like a little strange because it almost seemed like the droids had emotion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like almost like, how can we help?
Yeah, I mean, again, though, I think that's kind of like everything that the droids know.
Yeah, they're in a war with the Separatists.
Right, is different, at this point. It's I don't know. I would say that it is more logic driving the droids. They know this doesn't compute kind of thing.
Right.
What the clones are doing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't really take it that way, but now that you put it that way, it makes total sense.
So now that it's clear that Rex's chip is removed and he's, kind of with Ahsoka, where do you think we're going to go with this? I mean,
well, I know one thing.
What's that?
We are going to see a very conflicted Rex next episode.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because on one hand, he has his friend here, Ahsoka.
Yep.
On the other hand, every time he pulls the trigger right now, that's one of his brothers.
Right.
So this is going to be a very hard episode for Rex.
Yes. He's also going to know exactly what they're feeling and what they're doing, why they're doing it, because he went through it.
Yeah.
And that's going to make it even tougher. He knows they don't have control over it. Yeah, I got a feeling what they're going to end up trying to do more than anything at this point is make an escape.
Yes.
And,
I almost foresee Rex trying to fool them.
Oh, I like that.
With a capture or something.
Right.
Or a fake death.
Well, you know what? Oh, I could see that too. Yeah. Because if the clones think that Rex already took care of Ahsoka, then that might play really well right into what we know of what happens in the Ahsoka novel. You have this back and forth kind of thing of faking their demises. Where so if they fool the clones by faking Ahsoka's death, and then later on fool the galaxy by faking Rex's death, then they're both kind of like in the clear for a while.
Yeah.
Until we
but you gotta sell it.
Oh, absolutely. I suppose they'll be in the clear up until Rebels, right? So
yeah.
Oh, I like it. Wow. Well, I
mean, obviously there'll be some twists and turns along the way because this episode is going to be huge, this last one.
Yes.
And we don't have to wait as long to get it.
No.
You only have to wait till the 4th.
Right.
So
I gotta say, I am still loving the old school Lucasfilm logo at the beginning. And the music, my God. Throughout this whole arc has been a step above, because it has just been setting the tone for this whole thing, and we know it is all full of dread. Not to mention all the cues from the films themselves that they're touching on with the music.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Oh yeah, they're killing it with the music. I mean, the music is. Yeah, I never expected that. Like, I expected this to be Kevin Kiner's best, But I didn't expect this.
Right.
He's killing it in a big way. The thing about the music in Star Wars feature films is the music is like a character in its own.
Absolutely.
It drives so much of the story. Without the music, you wouldn't feel some of the emotion you feel. You wouldn't feel some of the the music in Star Wars is key to the storytelling.
Yes.
And that has been very prevalent in this arc. The Clone Wars has been good at it all along. Kevin Kiner's done a great job. But this arc has been unbelievable.
For sure.
I mean, they could fool everyone right now and say that John Williams did this.
Yeah.
And everyone would believe it.
Uh-huh.
That's how good Kevin Kiner's doing right now.
Yeah. I know enough to know that it's the music doing it along with the storytelling, but there are moments where I feel dark, cold. I know bad things are happening here or about to happen, So, and that's just a testament to the work that he's been doing. So,
yeah. And, I know it's, some people say, they're just using music from this, but they're not.
Right.
These compositions have been seamless. The stuff that Kevin Kiner is doing for these episodes that leads into music that was used in episode 3, there's a seamless transition there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been fantastic. And going into new music and stuff sprinkled into that old stuff, it's really wild and it's really awesome. There's not a bunch of copy paste going on here.
Right.
So this is a composer composing a score.
Yep, for sure.
So, yeah, it's been fantastic. Everything about this arc has been fantastic.
Yeah.
I can't find a bad thing to say.
Nope, me neither. What I can't wait for at this point is to be able to sit down and watch all 4 consecutively.
Mm-hmm.
One right after another. That's what I can't wait for.
Which, I mean, I'm probably going to watch these other 3 before this last one comes out.
Yeah.
So I really have an understanding of everything that's gone on. Because I have a feeling this is going to be a lot coming at us.
Yes.
A lot of emotion, a lot of information, and we were told that this is going to change the way we look at Star Wars. I think it's already doing that.
I have to agree. I do too. I mean,
the amount of human you're adding to the clone side of Order 66 with this.
I was just gonna say it. Yeah. I mean, we got to see Rex brief the clones on the order after it was given, which was, like you said, a very, in a military way, a very human thing to do, right? But we never got to see any of that in episode 3. So it really kind of puts a stamp on how this is affecting them.
Right. And the other thing I'll say about Order 66 here is it doesn't seem like a general order.
No.
It seems like it's a very specific list of people.
Well,
because it's not just the Jedi, because Maul is included in this.
Okay.
Rex specifically laid out to execute Maul.
Yes.
And then the terminology used when Ahsoka is marked for execution under Order 66.
Right.
As a traitor to the Republic.
Right.
That makes me think that instead of being the Jedi have to be eliminated, there is a list. They know who all the Jedi are, so it's easy to put all of them on this list.
Yep. So there is a very specific set of programming involved in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because that would explain why Anakin can get exempted from this order.
True. Yeah.
And then why would Maul be included if it's with the Jedi?
Because as far as Palpatine's concerned, his usefulness is done.
Right. But if it's just the Jedi, Maul wouldn't be included in that order.
Right.
That means that Maul was included in this order long before all of this.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Meaning he didn't want an apprentice after this was done.
Exactly. So you're talking
or he knew Anakin
basically at the time of episode 1 or before. That was
because my
part
thing
of
is
the
he has to
programming.
know Maul's alive at the time that they do this chip. And he has to know of Anakin.
Yeah.
So this chip had to have been done like literally sometime around episode 1.
And then this is why he had to have Anakin take care of Dooku personally. Because Dooku wasn't in the picture back when these chips were programmed.
Well, he might have been targeted as a Jedi. Unless he had already left the order. Right? Yeah.
But
so
regardless, why take chances here? Have Anakin, do it.
Yeah, I kind of get the idea that it's just it's specified.
Wow. I like this. This is something that we're going to have to revisit.
And then they can expand on it with other orders. Like if Palpatine issues another order or his apprentice
Order
Anakin.
66, Amendment 3.2. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I like it. Execute.
Yeah, Amendment 3.2. I forgot about this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I talked about tangled webs earlier. Man, I like it. I like it, though.
I always had a hard time with the Anakin exception.
Okay.
Like, how do you make an exception like that, right? Like, and then with Maul being included in it, I'm like, well, you can't just say Jedi.
Right.
Because I get the idea that Maul is included because Rex issues that order. That means that is in Rex's head.
Yeah.
That he's part of it. Not that he's exempt.
Right.
If he would have been exempt, they would have said, oh yeah, let that guy out.
Interesting.
He's one of us.
I like it. Huh. We need to revisit this. We need to. No, I like it. I like this a lot because we need to revisit this and dig deep because this is making my mind work in some ways that I'm liking
we need to
where
find
it's going.
every little piece of information out there on Order 66.
Oh God. Okay. We can do this.
In canon.
Yes.
In canon. So that actually makes it kind of small.
Yeah, true.
But we need to dig into this and analyze it and see if we can kind of understand what we're thinking here.
Yeah.
Because we may find we're off base, but like it just seems like it's because that one line, that she is marked. I was like, whoa. You're calling her out specifically.
Right.
Not just like, that's a Jedi, kill her.
Yeah. Huh. I like this. We need to investigate. We need to dig deeper. I like it.
Because she's not a Jedi. She's left the Order. Rex knows that.
Yeah. Everyone knows it. All those clones that painted their helmets like that, they knew that. They all knew that.
Yeah, that was crazy to see.
Yeah.
All these clones wearing helmets painted in respect to her.
Yeah. Trying to execute her. Ooh.
That
I know.
that added another element. It's like,
yes.
So yeah, we're gonna have to do a complete recap of this arc.
I think so too.
So yeah, this season of the Clone Wars it's going to end in this upcoming week, but it's probably going to be in our conversation for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think so too. The more and more people think about things and you know, evaluate how they play into the mythology as a whole, it's going to bring new things to light, and it'll warrant some more discussion. That's for sure.
Yep. All right. With that being said, if you have anything to add, you can email us, show@thewarsandmore.com. Best way to get a hold of us. We're also on social media. We're at The Wars and More on Twitter, facebook.com/thewarsandmore. You can find all that and all the ways to find the show over at thewarsandmore.com. Any final thoughts this week, Doug?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. We will talk next week.